I've always been different. I've always had an amazing imagination. I've always been the odd one out. I was born in 1979. I was the middle of 5 children, 1 brother and 3 sisters. Ever since I was little, I've been driven by obsessions. If something clicks, it becomes stuck in my mind and I can't get it out until I grow bored of it. Toys or games, movies or songs. I used to memorise entire films word for word. I would create stories and games. I was happy. Then I evolved from a cute little child into a smelly teenager and something happened in my brain. The only way that I can describe it is that it suddenly felt like overprotection from the horrible things in the world had vanished. The walls of my mind fell down. All the hurt and evilness of the world began to creep in, and I found it all impossible to ignore. I started writing around this time. I loved painting pictures with words, and my teachers were impressed with my skills. But I also started self-harming, and I discovered alcohol not long after. When I was drunk, everything became easy, especially the social aspects of life, conversations and spending time with people. I didn't realise that I was self-medicating, and I was numb to the person that I was becoming. When I left school, I studied music at college. I loved music just as much as I loved writing. It was one of the few things that I didn't need alcohol to enjoy. My son, Callum, was born when I was just 19 years old. I did my best to be a good father and partner, but my dependency on alcohol was too strong. I couldn't control myself or the thoughts in my head, and due to my behaviour, my partner and I split up. By the age of 21, I was covered in scars and I had almost killed myself through years of alcohol abuse. I was left with a choice: drink myself to death or try and get better. I went to rehab. I was there for 1.5 years, learning how to exist without alcohol and learning how my brain works. I learned so many things. Addiction has to be addressed at its most fundamental level. I had to learn who I was. But luckily, I'm a sponge when it comes to absorbing information. The most important lesson I learned was that you should never lie to yourself. When I left rehab, I moved into a flat on my own. It was then that I realised something terrible. Sobriety hurt. My problems were still there. Relapses and new addictions followed. I ended up joining a band, For My Anger. People never really wanted to talk to me normally, but when they saw my creations or my performances, that would change. I couldn't sustain the friendships that I made though. I always seemed to say or do the wrong thing. I felt like an alien, and I began to believe that there was something wrong with me. The band eventually broke up, and I was alone for a long time. But I continued to create things. It was what I loved doing, and it was why I decided to study creative writing and screenwriting at university. I loved the lessons, but I still really struggled with the social aspects of life. Things eventually became too much for me, and after relapsing again I had a breakdown. I had begun to believe that I was just an addict and that there was no hope for me, but then, after 36 years of life, I was diagnosed with autism. It was like a really well written twist at the end of a film. All the clues and hints had been there all along. I felt like I had been looking at things wrong my entire life, and all that was needed was a tiny shift in perspective for everything to suddenly make sense. It took me a long time to process the news. I remember going through the stages of grief, but the information eventually settled in and I finally began to enjoy existing in my own skin. I finished university with a first in screenwriting. I was featured on the radio and in the newspaper for my achievement. Since then, I've used my creations as a way of keeping my obsessions and addictions under control. It took me a long time, but I finally managed to put my wicked mind to good use.
I was born in 1998. I grew up quite scared and anxious, despite my amazing supportive mother. Outside influences led to me having a really bad stutter and struggling a lot with subjects at school. I couldn't read or write very well. I would go to visit my dad every 2 weeks. We would make short films with teddies and play computer games. During this time, my dad was in a band, For My Anger. Yes, that is what FMA stands for. I was lucky to see them perform when I was very young. After the show, I knew I wanted to be involved with music somehow. I would dream about one day writing a song or performing with my dad. I created an acoustic metal band with my friends in primary school called Rock Against the Stone. Copyrighted. We had no instruments or understanding of music, but would attempt to cover songs with only our voices. Around the time my very first band split up, I moved to Lancaster. Me, my mum, and little brother lived on an estate just outside of the town centre. Me and my little brother went to a privately funded school where we would learn about nature, the lunar cycles, and art. It was also at this school where I had my first experience with writing. One day a rapper came into school and we were asked to write a poem. I chose to write about my dog. And lemons, obviously. Out of every subject and all the hobbies I'd tried, rhyming words seemed like a natural fit to me. It allowed me to express myself. However, being a kid, I quickly forgot about that poem and how it made me feel. Then it was time to move again. We moved to Burnley. I became more nervous and self-conscious as I changed schools. I was still struggling with subjects until the point that people would call me stupid. It was only a lot later in college I would learn that I was actually dyslexic. But at that moment, performing had left my head. This was all until one day in high school. I had begun listening to rap, I identified with the messages, and had such an admiration for the culture. My mum would play me music and buy me albums. I would listen to everything from Wu-Tang Clan to the Streets. One fateful day a poster appeared on the school notice board. In bold letters it said, "Learn how to rap." I paid it no attention, until one of my friends pointed it out. But me being a cocky teenager, I firmly stated, I already know how to rap. This led to two things. Firstly, I started writing, mainly so I could look and feel like I was Eminem from 8 Mile. It also made me remember the freedom and control that writing gave me though. Secondly, I was bullied for my inability to actually rap. People would always ask me to rhyme words and I would be bombarded with them. This would stress me out until I wanted to cry. This pushed me further though. I often wonder now, looking back, if I wasn't picked on for wanting to be a rapper, would I have pursued it as passionately as I did? My main goal was to prove I could do it, but due to a lot of bullying during high school, I developed vices and unhealthy strategies for coping with my own thoughts and feelings. I was going down a very similar path that Dad did. This all came to a head when I had to move out of my mum's house and moved in with my dad. Due to his past, he was able to guide me to see where I was falling into unhealthy strategies. I found it incredibly stressful, but now I see how necessary it was. While in Preston, I made more supportive friends, who would encourage me to freestyle. One even became our cameraman. While Dad was showing me how to be a better person, I was still writing and showing him new ideas, verses, or freestyling to him every day. I would bug him to write a song with me, but he had fallen out of love with music. He would still give me advice and constructive criticism though. Every day I would improve in some way. While this was all going on, my mum had started to organise a Love Music, Hate Racism gig, and she asked Dad if he'd write some songs with me and perform them to help my confidence. So we worked and we wrote. I memorised my sections and my dad's. We first performed when I was 15. The gig went better than either of us could have imagined. I was under the impression that was the only gig that we would perform together. But Dad kept saying just one more song, just one more gig, until finally, one day, fma12gage was born.
Now, a father and son from Preston who live with mental health and learning difficulties have turned to their shared passion for music to inspire others.
Yes, they perform as fma12gage.
It's you! You stole my newspaper!
My CV up in numero quarter while I'm forming. There I go, amigo, and Tito, all rapping father. Could believe this, some preteens, feces, bring ones underneath. For my anger, 5, I'm 6, all in 20. With every step I take, I'm one step closer to my awake. With every minute closer to my limit, pick up the pain. Listen, all of a sudden you graduated. It's the
step closer to my own way. With every minute closer to my own, pick up the pace,
Whoa, haven't even heard the talk yet, but thanks for the applause. Hi, I'm 12gage.
Hi, I'm FMA.
And this is our talk on creativity. We
Yep.
hope you enjoy it. So, we've been creating together now for the past 6 years. It's been annoying at points, but yeah, I think we can both agree though that creativity has been the most rewarding self-care that there is when it comes to me and him. Like, literally, we wouldn't be the people we are today if it wasn't for creativity.
No, we wouldn't, but annoying.
I'm just saying.
I apologise for 12 gauge, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, you are here at our talk on creativity. We genuinely would maybe not be here today. I know I wouldn't. I would probably be dead somewhere.
Yeah.
And Callum would be on a very bad route to somewhere.
Something bad.
Yeah, we are here. We're talking about creativity because creativity to us has given us a new lease on life.
Yeah.
It has allowed us to get rid of so much negativity and so many destructive and bad thoughts in our heads in a positive way that it's something that we believe everyone should be doing.
Yeah, in some form. We don't just mean like rapping or writing scripts like we do in any form, because creativity comes in many forms.
Yes.
But yeah, so how would you, because I think we need to nail it down a bit, how do you think that it has benefited you?
Creativity, well, I tend to have extremes of emotion. I don't just feel a little happy or a little sad. I feel ecstatic, or I feel so depressed that I want to kill myself. There's no in between. I'm a person of extremes. And what creativity does, it allows me to spend time putting down in words exactly how those emotions make me feel, rather than just going up to someone or a counsellor or a therapist and going, oh, I feel really, really bad. And then they're like, okay, right, you feel really, really bad. I can create stories that describe the horrible upset that I feel, or make songs that express the true anger that I feel in those moments. And that's what creativity does. It is the most therapeutic thing that I've ever done, and I've spent a lot of my life in counselling and therapy and stuff, but none of it ever compares to the creations that I create.
Yeah, definitely.
One of the really, really good examples that I have, it's not one of our creations, but there's a film called Seven, directed by David Fincher, and the writer of that film, well, if you've seen the film, you know it's quite horrific and it's really horrible and it's quite a very dark look at reality. But the writer of that film, he was from like the countryside in America, and like really quaint and rural and all horses, and that's what I'm assuming. But he went to live in New York, and on every street corner in New York he was seeing things that he'd never ever experienced in his life.
Like the extremes.
Yeah, the extremes
of humanity.
Yeah, the extremes of humanity, beggars, violence, drugs, and all sorts of things. And he said it was making him ill. And from that place of disgust and upset and things came this truly horrific script. But it's captured within the script is the emotions that he was feeling. And I'm sure him writing that was the most cathartic thing ever.
Definitely.
Because he got to put on film, on paper, how he felt. And being able to express yourself is the most important thing, I think, to dealing with mental health. It is for me anyway. I'm going quiet so you can talk.
All right, cool.
I'm sure you've got examples of it as well.
Well, how I think creativity benefits me, well, benefited and still does benefit me, is I pretty much, when I was growing up, when I was a teenager, I was really anxious, like an incredibly anxious, scared kid, really. And I didn't think I had much worth in myself. And it's a horrible feeling, that, like, walking around seeing all your negatives, thinking you are just negative. And I'm pretty sure even some people watching may feel like that. Some people watching may know people who feel like that. And creativity literally gave me, like, writing rap gave me I want to say role models, and I know that there'll also be people here who are like rappers as role models, ooh. But like, these people were able to express, put their thoughts, what they wanted to say with no like hindrance at all, and just put that on a page and then go out and perform it and people would love it. And a lot of the time it's what these people are expressing are like the negative aspects of life. But I feel like the way that it benefited me personally was being able to see myself having worth, be able to see myself as contributing something at a time when I felt like there was nothing I had to contribute to anything.
It made you feel powerful, didn't it?
Yeah.
From a place of powerlessness, it gave you power. It gave you agency within the world.
And
it
then,
made the work, things that you thought important because they were part of the song. There was something that people would listen to.
And then even weirder, like I've said this to you, but even weirder, after that, it gave me responsibility because it turned me from powerless to powerful. And then I'd just write because it was like, oh yeah, this is what I want to write, this is what I want to do. And then if either anyone has met us, you know that we have been involved with charities, we've done multiple things, we went into schools, and it was kind of then when it flipped, knowing that my words actually had power. It wasn't just power to me, it was power to the people who were listening. And that then gave me responsibility later on in life.
Yeah. And I think part of creativity is a lot of it's subconscious. So when something upsets you, it's not right at that moment that you can get it out.
Yeah.
And I know with me that I create things that have to do with things that I've gone through, but I never realised it's what I'm actually doing. So I wrote a film script and that was about a bad breakup that I went through, but I didn't realise that until well after the point.
Yeah.
But you naturally, no matter what it is that you're creating, whether it's a sculpture, whether it's a dance, a song, you will naturally put your subconscious thoughts and feelings into that thing, and it will feel so cathartic.
Because it's also inspiration, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's just what naturally comes out. If you relax and begin to create, your brain will say, right, this needs dealing with, this is on my mind, this is what's going into this.
Yeah.
And I can't explain it. I'm not a psychologist, so I can't tell you the secrets exactly as it works, but I know that that's what works. It works with me, and it's worked with you, and it's worked with so many other people that I've seen.
Definitely.
So
like what you said, and I think it kind of freaked me out as well at the time, is that you know so many writers who have written about people they still know.
Oh yeah.
And those people will never,
don't have a
clocked
clue
on to the fact that what this person has written is about them.
Yeah.
And they'll just be there like, oh, that was a good story.
Yeah.
But they don't know it's about them.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of that as well with creativity.
Yeah, it's making sense.
Yeah.
Going on back tangent, it's making sense of things that have happened. So I can create these characters, put them into a story and have them talk, and I'll be like, oh, that's why that person thought that, and that's why that person reacted like that, because it allows you to see everything from a place outside of yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
When it comes to script writing anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I find the level of control that script writing gives me, especially with conversations, because I'm awful at talking to people, but when I can spend hours and hours and hours building conversations, then it feels, it's just nice.
As a quick thing I think you should talk about is Zach.
Oh yeah, one of the things that I have discovered through creativity is that by naming something, you give it substance. And if something has substance, it's no longer this thing that just exists. So all my depression, all my addictions, everything like that, I've now named Zach. And so if I'm having a bad day, if I'm wanting to drink or anything like that, it's Zach's fault, it's not mine. And it relieves so much responsibility and so much guilt and things, because it's no longer me that's the issue, it's the thing in my head.
But there is also a massive thing which I think we both feel when it comes to creativity, which is that it's kind of this gated off thing where it's like
magical.
Yeah, it's like, oh, they just made that within like
you
a
need
minute.
hats, smoke cigarettes, and you need to be in big fancy houses and be eating these fancy meals to be able to create, and that's a complete nonsense. And part of our goal is to share our mistakes and share the struggles that creativity actually is.
Yeah, so we can encourage people to hopefully create and dispel that myth in this talk that only a select few people can create, because everyone can do it, and even if you don't realise it, you're probably subconsciously creating.
Yeah, so with that in mind, we would like to lead on to the next section of our talk. We're going to be taking you through two extremes of creativity. And so for the first part of this, may we welcome to you the short story, Kevin.
In a solar system, on the most infinite outskirts of the universe, there lived a very naughty planet called Kevin. Kevin had always been obsessed by the stars that hung like diamonds in the darkness around him. He would have given anything to shine like them. Kevin was barely old enough to have his own moon, let alone be spinning out of orbit, but like a shooting star he danced across the universe, hopping over black holes, weathering cosmic storms, and riding the waves of supernovas until one day he arrived. 1 million years later, he returned. "Quasars and crumpets," his ever-glowing mother said when she noticed him trying to slink back into orbit. "What have you been doing? You're covered pole to pole in dark matter." "I'm sorry, Mummy. I wanted to be a star." Kevin sadly shook and continents formed across his surface. "But when I got there, I found they were just like us." His mother caressed him with sunlight. "Silly Kevin. I know it's hard to see, but you are a star. Everyone's a star to someone. It just depends on where you're looking from." Kevin thought for a moment, then smiled. "Thanks, Mum." And the universe went on spinning.
And that was Kevin, a short story that I wrote for a short story slam. A short story slam is a competition where loads of writers get together and you get given limits on how to create these stories. So it might be a theme, it might be some other instructions. The instructions for this story was 200 words, and 200 words is not a lot of room to get a story in. But yeah, we were told to write these stories, so I was racking my brains for some subject to write this story on when I was just sat on a bus one day, and all of a sudden the sentence popped into my head: "There was once a naughty planet called Kevin." And I fell in love with that sentence the second that I had it in my head. And when I went to start working on it, the story just wrote itself, because what would a naughty planet do? A naughty planet would run away. Why would he run away? Because he would want to be like the stars. And what would he find when he got to the stars? He would find that they were just like him, and so he would return home. And that's it. That was the whole process of this story. I asked my fiance to narrate it and a very, very talented friend to draw the pictures for it. And voila, you have seen the results. And now, on to the very, very opposite end of the creativity spectrum, we have our music video for Unstoppable. Would you like to tell the audience about the process that we went through for this, please?
Certainly. So, Unstoppable started when I was really young at the time. I found a sampled Led Zeppelin track on YouTube, and I decided to write a verse for it about how far I'd come as a performer since starting fma12gage. It was originally meant to be a song for me, by me, so my first solo kind of debut. And I showed Dad, he thought it was awesome. He said I should do more. So I wrote 2 more verses. I then went back to Dad, and he didn't think the second verse was that good, so he suggested he should write the second verse and we should make it an FMA+12gage song.
And the verse I wrote was phenomenal.
We performed it for years. It quickly became a crowd favourite. It was always the tipping point at gigs where people would start dancing, or, you know, a couple of people would start moving. And we used to have a friend called Alex that would absolutely go mental for this song. As soon as it came on, he'd be like the thing that broke that awkward layer of tension in the gig. But very sadly, this friend ended up passing away. And when it came time to remake this song for our debut album on Bandcamp, if you want to check it out, we wanted to dedicate that song to him. Before we could do that though, we had to remake the beat and the chorus. And we were stuck for a while because neither of us can make beats.
No.
But luckily we had a friend who did, and he has been our producer ever since. He completely produced our entire first album. But now, all we needed to do at that time was write a chorus that was better than Led Zeppelin. We decided we wanted a female vocalist because this was our most mainstream sounding song, but we couldn't find a singer. And we began to lose hope again. Until another member of our family stepped up, ironically for a father-son rap duo I know, and FMA's sister, my auntie, sung the chorus on Unstoppable. So we wrote a new chorus. We thought it was ace. We listened back, and it wasn't right. So we had to write another chorus. We went back to the drawing board. 1 second. There is more. So when we went back to the drawing board, the mistakes we had made in the first attempt of writing that chorus showed us what worked and what didn't, and also how we could get it right the second time around. We recorded it, and this time it was perfect. Then we had to start working on the actual music video. So we planned on making it ourselves, like our YouTube series, but we'd never undertaken something of this size with this many people.
This magnitude.
Exactly. But luckily, he had some friends from uni called Route 9 Studios, and they came to our rescue. And FMA had an idea for this music video that would tell the story of what Alex used to do at our gigs. And the best way he could think of getting his idea across was a prototype.
Yep.
What you're looking at right now is that prototype version of the Unstoppable video. As I'm pretty sure you can tell, FMA created this using the toys he'd kept since he was a child. And that prototype took an entire day to create. The video would tell the story of a man at an awkward gig who would be the spark that would set off a chain reaction amongst the audience. There was also another story, because it's us, it can never be simple, and that was the story of missing out on things through being too worried about what other people think of you. We see that all the time at gigs, people sat on the sidelines really wanting to join in, but,
Too self-conscious
to actually do it. And the idea was for the video to evolve from an awkward gig into a pop music video. So we decided to use friends, fans and family as the crowd, and we also cast Alex's elder brother as the spark that would get the crowd moving. And after all of that, this is what we had.
Enjoy.
When I say I'm unstoppable, I mean it. Breathed it, alleviated, even with it. Welcome to the Gages, a cool seminar. Let me show you how to make a reputable repertoire. Rip them all up, simple as simmer. Take the DNA of FMA and the mind of a sinner. Set his soul like an ant for your rope. Pin up, come on, I've always been top of the food chain. Top a new wave, stopping halfway through their tracks. Even if I had a barcode strapped to the back of my head, still couldn't keep track of my train of thought. Pain of a showman slash shogun with a broken sword. And a shocking slogan, like system, judy chop coke and a double mocker with a pro stakes. So go!
I can't tell if I'm still breathing, still dreaming. I can't help but hear the sounds I've drowned. I can't help but keep on asking for one last sound.
Is he autistic, artistic, arsonist? An alcoholic with a mouth full of arsenic. I'm bringing an art to it, more than a part of it. The perverted point, been ready to rip it to bits. I'm leveling up in it, I'm leveling in every second. I reckon that I can hear the bunches back and deafened. I close my eyes and I see the lines swimming through my mind. So many words, so little time, so I better devise another design. I better be better than ever, I bet you this time I'm divine. With the shadow on my back and my teeth as they grind, I'm gonna be sublime. Never mind, you get another chance, another time. Cause when you get right to the heart of it, human race, but I'm not a part of it. Disqualified for superior brain power. Thoughts are racing at 1,000,000,000 billion trillion miles an hour. I'm unstoppable.
I can't tell if I'm still breathing, still dreaming. I can't help but hear the sounds I've drowned. I can't help but keep on asking for one last sound.
Simmer down, tip, pivot, tip top. 6 kid with a trim top, spit rhyme so it looks like a trip top. A signal with a cigarette. Pick a picture, anyone, I'll be posing a threat. This is just a catalyst, a cause and effect. Of course, it's going to affect me. Creative these hectic head trips. Medics left me to burn, I'm not concerned, belly vermin. Oh, you can't limit this. Bigger heaven if I stood atop the pyramids. And start pushing Roman numerals. So unusual, but excuse you all, I've been working on this. So prepare for burning bodies, almost bonnets. Cause it's honestly my policy to be picky about it. Till you figure out, but you're sick of me now. Taking these lyrics and I'm living them down.
I can't tell if I'm still breathing, still dreaming. I can't help but hear the sounds I've drowned. I can't help but keep on asking for one last sound. I can't tell if I'm still breathing, still dreaming. I can't tell if I'm still breathing, still dreaming. I can't tell if I'm still breathing, still dreaming. One last sound.
And that was our music video for Unstoppable.
We both hope you enjoyed it.
Yep, the entire process from start to finish for Unstoppable took 4 years.
4 years.
And Kevin took around an hour. So yeah, that will hopefully show you some idea of the differences and extremes that creativity can be. It's not one set thing, and it's never going to be one set thing. You just follow what feels right.
Yeah.
And our goal with this talk was to encourage people to hopefully start creating, or for them to encourage other people to start creating.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, we came up with a list of tips that will hopefully help you.
Yeah. And we know that these tips, there are a lot, they can seem overwhelming. So if you would like a text document of these tips, just send us an email or send us a message. The information will be on after the talk.
Yeah, we'll include our email address in a section that's due to come up. Okay.
But also remember that what we say isn't gospel. There is no right or wrong way to create. If something works for you, do it. It's just about being creative.
Yeah, this is what works for us.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to start.
Okay.
Don't compare yourselves to others of a great skill level when you're just starting out. It can be extremely disheartening.
I used to do this all the time. I compare myself to rappers who've been doing it for years, and it almost made me want to quit what I was doing. Also, create for yourself, not to make other people happy. That should be the first thing that you do.
Yeah, that's what creativity is for. To be a writer, all you need to do is write. To be an artist, all you need to do is draw.
Let go of the fear that comes with creating. I know that it can seem a really difficult thing to put yourself out there, and no one really needs to hear it, but if you don't create, you don't know what you can do.
Yeah, always be open to change. Never be afraid to experiment. Creativity at its core is about fun and playfulness. So be silly and just have lots of fun.
Yeah. Also, creativity is like a muscle. The more you train it, the better you'll get at it.
Yeah, anything can be fuel for creativity, whether it's positivity or negativity.
Nice. There are no worthless ideas. Everything can be a good idea. So just write it down, work on it. A bad idea can become a good idea.
Yep. Sometimes inspiration will strike, as in Kevin, and sometimes you need to push to get the result that you're working for.
Like Unstoppable.
Yeah, like the Unstoppable music video.
If you have a good idea, write it down. Never just try to remember it.
Yeah, because you'll just end up forgetting everything. Yeah. Creativity is expression. There is no right or wrong. If your creations make you feel, whether it be happy, sad, joyful, or silly, or whatever, it's done its job. It's there to evoke emotion.
Learn constructive criticism and how to do it.
Find your very own constructive critic, whether it be a friend or someone you trust. Someone who won't just say, oh, that's really good, like your mum.
Like him.
Like my mum. What?
Find your very... Oh, no, wait, that's... Find someone to bounce ideas around with, like him.
Yeah. Don't self-critique what you make into oblivion. It's easy to be like, oh, that's not as good as like what that person does or something. And it's easy to look into your work and just...
tear it apart.
Yeah, just tear it apart, and it's hard to see the goodness in it. So don't do that.
Yeah. If you're struggling, try setting yourself a 90-minute time limit and just see what you can do in that period of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Use absolutely everything to your advantage. Autism and dyslexia allows us to see the world in a different way to most people.
You're an individual at the end of the day. Embrace your differences because no one can create like you.
Yep. Be aware and be honest about your strengths and your weaknesses. If you can't get the result that you want, there may be another way to do it. A really good example for this is I used to want to be a singer, but I'm tone deaf. So I started creating songs using my skills with words and my ability to speak fast as my method of evoking emotion.
All creative pursuits inform other creative pursuits. So, storytelling can help how you view songs and how you write songs. Also, writing songs can help you put rhythm inside of dialogue in stories.
Yeah, there's a lot more ways. It's just two really simple ones. Do not let anyone destroy your passion for creativity.
Never ever discourage someone else from creating. Always encourage.
Yes. Learn to trust your instincts.
Be patient, be persistent, and persevere.
Yep.
Those were really difficult to say.
Yeah, go on.
So an example of this. So when we were creating our second EP, Something Wicked This Way Comes, we had almost finished all of it. We were so close to the ending. We had 5 songs and we just had to get one more song done. Until I had a knock on my door in the morning. This is after I'd just woken up. I hadn't even had a brew or a cigarette, so I was very grumpy.
Don't smoke.
Also, don't smoke. It's really not good. But I'd just woken up, I was very tired, and I had a knock at my door, and it was my dad, and he said...
I've scrapped all the songs.
He'd scrapped all the songs. I didn't realise at that time what was actually happening, or what had happened, but I realise now it was because we could have done a lot better. So never settle for something until you're happy with it.
Yeah. If you know you can do better and people are saying, oh, come on, it's finished now, don't ever settle for that. Because that's really frustrating, is that?
But the main takeaway from this rule is to not give up on an idea until you personally are happy with it.
Yeah.
Because the truth about creativity is no one else can help you create. You're the only person who can do it. But the secret is that you can do it.
Yeah. One of the best ways to improve creatively is to go outside of your comfort zone.
For instance, another story. When we first started fma12gage, I was feeling really nervous and self-conscious on stage. It was kind of new to me. I didn't know how to express myself or be boisterous, but he was still being mental him. So instead of just staying in that sort of little pocket of, I don't know how to do this, I'm never going to be like that on stage, I decided to join a band and be the front man by myself, and it was incredibly scary. I realised in that moment the difficulty you have when you're a front man just trying to get the crowd involved. But it also taught me so much, which I then carried over later into fma12gage and everything I do since then.
Yeah.
Yep.
What?
I felt like you were doing the next one. Creative blocks happen to everyone. It's almost like you've sprained a creative muscle, really. Yeah. But when you've sprained a muscle, you have to rehab it, and you can't go back to, I don't know, doing squats or anything.
No, you've got to take things really slowly. And it's so easy when you've got a creative block to get stressed at yourself. And that's the exact opposite of what you want to do. If you're struggling to create, be proud of the very, very tiny things
Yeah.
that you make.
So little steps lead to big things, and keep that in mind.
Yeah, and this tip has absolutely nothing to do with creativity, but if you're speaking in front of an audience or getting up in front of people, the first 5 minutes are always the worst.
Yeah.
If you can get through those first 5 minutes, your body and your mind will begin to calm down, and the rest will be like smooth sailing compared to those first 5 minutes.
And remember that Picasso couldn't paint like Van Gogh, who couldn't paint like Dali, and you are the only person with your thoughts, ideas, and experiences. So no one can create like you can create, and never lose belief in yourself.
Yes. And that has been our talk on creativity, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. Thank you for listening. I'm glad whoever's still here watching, I hope that you took something away from this.
Yep.
We have been FMA plus 12 gauge.
Oh, before we go, just one last thing. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been FMA plus 12 gauge, and this is our goodbye, good night. I'm 1 in a billion, and I'm building on my brilliance. From the ground up, I've read the flowing filament. Mental and physical, I'm fighting on both fronts. My point up in the end is approaching, and it's all done. And I'm spitting in strong style, like Shabbat, Rasa pass, and never let the pain matter. I'm into wreak havoc when my patterns are full of pattern. My passages are lyrical pan. I make dominance my habit. I make perfectionism my profession. I'm not perfect, but I'm a perfect combination of obsession, depression, and venom. Passion and aggression, imagination, I'm threatening. Bringing in the deafening, conducting chaos in my cranium. Got your heads a nodding. Got your cerebellum's popping. With the flows I'm dropping. Guarded by the tail and I'm not stopping. Got the sonics and phonics, honest and promises of torrents of abhorrence. I'm just being honest. I weave words. I pick the stars out of the sky. I'll steal the pennies from your eyes. Tell you the sweetest lies. I create to survive. I create to destroy. And I'ma conquer the world with these words. From the darkness I emerge, my lips curled. I was dreaming of the sickest of the wicked. When the lightning a bus struck, that's when my mind woke up. I took a dance to the floor and rope Sam's up. Never enough, I covered in rust. I suffered enough, rising up, it is such a rush. But the separation. Stand side by side, two of a kind. Make the crowd jump, rebuild from the ground up. The shock of the sound waves. Prominent and we're dominant on the page ain't great. When the lightning struck, I've been sitting thinking, this cityness is limitless. Flickering vivid images like an old film in my head and just morphed into something but mundane to a morbid picture. This existence is our persistence, and any form of resistance is quickly turned to fiction. Keep on going and ignore the friction. You can't ever shine from its distance. Why? Cause we'll just bring it up louder. Hoods up, heads down, while we're giving in out of subject matter. Stand up, stand down, and stand out. But say something with no conviction, it could shatter the atlas. Make it matter even if it batter the rallies. Take it up another level, step it up in mileage. Make every moment defining, go from grey to ultraviolet. I wield words that will set the streets alight. That will set the streets alight. Take you with me to new heights. Take you with me to new heights. From a person who wasn't even worth the time. Just a wayward northern kid with a wayward words who found a rhyme. Now we're replacing his mind. So let the passion shine. Free! When the lightning a bus struck, that's when my mind woke up. I took a dance to the floor and rope Sam's up. Never enough, I covered in rust. Something enough, rising up, and it's such a rush. But then it separates us. Stand side by side, two of a kind. Make the crowd jump, remember the ground up. We got the shock of the sound wave. Prominent and we're dominant on the page ain't great. When the lightning struck. Stars up at the sky. I steal the pennies from your eyes. Tell you the sweetest lies. When the lightning struck, I wield words that will set the streets alight. When the lightning struck, are you with me to new heights? Thunder separates us. Give me a beat to beat my mind. Lightning a bus struck. That's when my mind woke up. I took a dance to the floor and rope Sam's up. Never enough, I covered in rust. Something enough, rising up, and it's such a rush. But thunder separates us. Stand side by side, two of a kind. Make the crowd jump, remember the ground up. We got the shock of the sound wave. Prominent and we're dominant on the page ain't great. When the lightning struck.
Guys, it's lovely to see you. How long? When was the last time I saw you?
Oh, last year.
Yeah.
When we came down.
Yeah, last year. Was it when you were doing the anti-bullying campaign.
Yeah, I didn't see you around that time, but we saw you when we came down to do Chrissy B's show.
Yeah, that was it.
That's right, yeah. So obviously the lads, Matthew and Callum, I've known them for a little while now, and they performed on Autism's Got Talent, and I just love how they feed off each other and how they put everything, every ounce of their body into everything that they do, and they're such lovely fellas, like really lovely. And when we have Autism's Got Talent, what I really like is how you interact with our performers that might never have done it before, or you know, they're a little bit nervous, and I see that you're there chatting to them, trying to help them relax. So that's what I really love about you as well. It's not just about you, it's about everybody else. How long did it take you to put that video together?
3, maybe 4 weeks. As soon as you gave us the notice that we were going to be on this, I was, right, we need to create this thing, because when we left to talk normally, I go off on tangents like Laurie mentioned. I do the exact same thing. So it was like, there's information that we 100% need to get over, so we can't mess around with that information. So we needed to get it like done. So yeah, we spent ages.
Yeah.
But everyone can watch it again. Yeah, I was just going to say that everyone can watch it again. It's on YouTube. Yeah. And I'll put the link down below, because it definitely deserves a lot of watches actually. So
I was just going to say, if somebody's thinking of doing something what you've just done, like that video, is there any tips that you could give them? Because I'm sure there's a lot. I get asked quite a lot as well. How do I do this? How do I put it together? So is there any tips that you can give people that might be watching now thinking, I want to do something like that? What tips would you give them?
Well, just experiment, because that's how I learned to do it. It's like, that was one of the tips. It's like, a bad idea isn't necessarily bad. If you create something which is bad, you've learned a few good things to create that bad thing, and then you can take those few things and then keep going. The secret is to keep going and not lose heart, because with each iteration it gets better and better and better. So like 3-4 years ago, I'd never made anything like that, and I just loaded it up and drew some pictures and put it all in, and it was rubbish to start with. But the more I practiced, I'm really stubborn. It's from my mum. My mum's a really stubborn lady, and sometimes it's really bad, but I've inherited that stubbornness. And so when I start doing something, I don't give up until it's complete.
I totally get that. And I know you're a perfectionist as well, because many times we've spoken about things that you might be doing for me, and you know, you want to tweak it here, tweak it there, and I just totally get that, because if it's not right in your eyes, you just don't want to send it out to anyone.
Yeah, definitely. That was like, that's why we did that list of tips at the end, because it's like things that we've learned over the years. And as a creator, as someone like starting new, you don't think of these tips. You think it's like a magical thing. You think these people are so talented and you can never do that. But those people were at the beginning at some point, and it's just learning these things.
Could you, just before you go into your talk, would you mind just talking a little bit about Autism's Got Talent and your experience? Because you might have moms or adults here that are listening and thinking they might like to enter, and they might think, oh, I'm not sure about it. So can you just share a little bit about your experience and what you got out of it?
Well, that kind of links into what we were going to talk about, because it's all of this is like combined, Anna. It's like, because it'd be silly to talk about Autism's Got Talent if I didn't talk about what it was like before I knew I had autism. Do you know what I mean? So I would, like I mentioned in the video, I was a naughty child. That people considered me naughty. I didn't like wearing the clothes my mum had bought me. I didn't like going outside in the sun, and all these things. I'd rather play with toys. And so, like, I also have a really obsessive nature. So as soon as I find something that I like, it clicks with my brain, and like, I have to overdose on it. So whether it's toys or games or films or anything. But when it comes to alcohol and like stuff like that, that stuff clicks in my brain too. So I become very, very obsessed with these things. But until I knew I had autism, I didn't realize what my obsessions were. I didn't realize they were separate to me. Do you know what I mean? I felt like that's all I was. I was just this person seeking some form of escape from reality. And when I got my diagnosis of autism, it was one of the strangest experiences of my life, because it was like, it really was like a film. That's the best way of describing it. And it's like you get given all these scenes through the film and you think it's going one way, and then it just takes this tiny little twist at the end, and for you to see a little hidden things, and you view everything differently. And that's what it was like when I found out I had autism, because I always thought I didn't like anyone, no one liked me, and I couldn't communicate or get on with people. And so I found out I had autism, and then I applied for Autism's Got Talent, not thinking anything about it. It was just like a silly thing that I did. and we got through. And then I came down to London, and it was so weird because there was still that like angry part of me, which is like, no one's like me and I'm not like anyone else and things. But when I got there and I met people that were like me and who did similar things to me, it was like kind of mind blowing. And it was such a weird experience to feel alone for your entire life and then suddenly be dropped into this environment where everybody's just not exactly like me, but they're all different like me, if that makes sense. And it was such, I don't know, it was nice. It felt warm. Like one of the first times in my life.
Oh, that's lovely. Because I remember you saying that you felt really comfortable. Because I actually remember when you first came in with your son, you looked a bit anxious. And then I could see your shoulders started. Yeah, you just thought, oh, it's okay. Because obviously we can prepare as much as we possibly can by telling you what's going to happen. If you want to come to the meet and greet the night before to meet everybody, we try and plan as much as we possibly can so we can make it as autism friendly. But obviously when you get there, it's a little bit different. But you just see everyone's a little bit about, they're all sitting in different places. You're not sitting together. And then once the event starts and we start doing rehearsals, everyone starts getting closer, and it's just, you have to be there. And I know people have probably heard me say this before, but you have to be there to experience what we're talking about.
It's just lovely being around people that are the same as who have the same difficulties as me, if that makes sense. Although I do find it a bit mad that like everybody's still completely different, because like I love loud noises and things, but some people there don't like loud noises. So it's like autism's such a strange thing, isn't it? It's like it's not, you can't just say someone's got autism and it be a flat thing for everyone.
I know. It's just the same with like the applause thing, because some people say we shouldn't clap, we should handshake, but nearly everybody that we've asked who are performers, they want to have the applause, they want that recognition. We have had one or two, I suppose, in the last 10 years that have said, please, can we do it quietly, or can we not applaud? But mainly everybody wants it. And what I love about it is that when people are getting the applause and they are walking off stage and they get the recognition, you can just see like their chest filling out with pride, or the kids skip off the stage because they're so happy. And then nearly everyone applies again for next year because they've had such a positive experience. They want to do it again, which I think totally get.
I was saying, because Lisa and I are backstage, we see everything. We see how nervous you are before you go on. And we, every time, without fail, we say to you, I can guarantee you 110%, by the time you come off, you want to go back on again. And, and as soon as everybody's finished and they come off, you are literally glowing and buzzing. And it's just amazing. It's just until you've been there, I think it's hard to explain what it is, because it isn't just the show itself, it's everything about it. And all of a sudden our kids and our families, everything, they see something that you don't see outside. And barriers sort of come down, people are calmer, people are happy, the interactions, everything that people say that shouldn't be able to happen, we have and
it gives them a springboard as well to do other things, but we're really gutted we can't do it this year. So but next year it's going to be special because it's our 10th year. So anyway, over to you now, Matthew and Callum. So the floor is yours.
Okay, cool. Well, where should we start, Callum?
Should we start?
I don't know, because everything's all jumbled up, isn't it? Because I talked about my past a bit there, and then
so and now we're in this weird.
Should we talk about your past first, Callum?
Yeah, go on then.
So just enhance on what we had in the video.
So
you are my son, aren't you?
I am, even though people sometimes think I'm his dad, which is really weird. But yeah, I am his son. We have birth certificates. But so I was born 2 years before you went into rehab.
Yeah.
Weren't I? And when I was growing up, my mum had a partner who wasn't a nice person at all, and that led to me feeling incredibly scared at a time, I think, which is an informative time for a child. Like, that's their first experience of the world, and that led to me being incredibly scared throughout my life, like overthinking everything, being really nervous, everything like that. And then that was kind of reinforced whenever I went into school, whenever I went into places, like I'd be bullied or I'd the teachers would call me stupid and stuff like that. So it just gave me this feeling of I was less than everything or everyone around me. It just gave me that.
Yeah.
And it only took until I was in college, really, until I'd kind of started going down a very similar path to you. Like I have the same thing which he said about alcohol, where I can find something and just grab onto it, just latch, and it's like all that I want to do. And I have that similar thing with me. And I'd started attaching myself to things that weren't positive at all and were affecting everyone around me, not just me.
Yeah.
And it got to a point where I had to move out of my mum's and move in with my dad. So after that, he started helping me because of his past. He's also...
This reminds, because when Laurie was talking, she said about her son, a lot of things that she didn't prepare for or expect, and it was like the opposite with this. And because I'd been through such a troubled childhood and been to so many dark places, and places that like, it's just unbelievable that I'm still alive, that I was prepared for Callum to do that. And I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't have done that, Callum. I might have been a very awful parent because I'd have expected all of that. So I don't know. So I was really lucky. I know it's terrible that I had that upbringing, but I was really lucky that I had that upbringing because it prepared me for when Callum started going through that as well.
Yeah, because we are both incredibly similar, father, son. But I kind of got to this point where I was in Preston. Like before that, I'd discovered rap, I'd discovered music. I'd always wanted to be a musician. I just lacked the self-confidence to actually put myself out there and do it. And that led to me feeling kind of it was the only thing which I had any passion or self-belief in. I didn't believe I could do another job. I didn't believe I was any good at anything other than music. So I just pursued that as hard as I could. And despite everything I kept doing wrong, when I moved in with Dad, that was the only thing that kind of kept going.
Yeah.
Like all the things which I latched myself onto and become like disenfranchised with and all this other stuff, it was quickly sort of just put to bed really when I moved in, and you could see through every lie and everything I was trying to do.
Yeah, because I'd done all this, because as a kid, I'd stolen alcohol and I'd stolen money and I'd done all these sneaky things. My brain was already wired to see it in Callum. So I was looking out for these behaviours and things. So no matter how hard he tried, I was always 2 steps ahead. So it must have been very frustrating. And that's why I don't know how it would have been if you'd have been a good behaved child, Callum, because I would have been expecting you to be bad. And then maybe I would have caused worse. So it's just really lucky that
it kind of worked. Yeah. But anyway, so we started like, I'd just freestyle to him. I'd consistently show him ideas. Like one of the really funny things, I think, whenever we mention we're a father-son rap duo, people are there like, oh, right, so his dad wanted to just put him in. His dad wanted to force him to do it. And it is the complete opposite way round.
Yeah.
Like he didn't want to do music anymore at all. He'd like had really bad experiences in bands before that. And he really was just a scriptwriter at that point.
Yeah.
But I just wouldn't stop. So it was like every day I'd be there like, oh, Dad, I've wrote a verse.
Yeah.
Oh, Dad, listen to this, listen to this. And it got to the point where he saw I had talent, but he didn't want to do anything until my mum said, would he write songs with me to help my confidence? And then that led to our very first gig, which went better than either of us really imagined it could.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of snowballed from there to where we are now.
Yeah. And so now here we are giving a talk
on creativity and mental health.
So so it's kind of amazing, like it's all almost preordained, because if one of these little bits had gone wrong at any point, we wouldn't be sat here working together now. But one of the things we found through creativity is that creations can give you so much agency, so much worth, so much feeling in this world. And like you were saying then, your creations, they were the thing that kept you going, and it's what works with me. But one of the things that has really, really worked with me is writing stories, because stories allow me to figure out how and why people behave in the ways that they do.
Yeah.
So like we've got the rap side of things, and people love the songs, and we love how we feel when we perform the songs, and that's cool. But to gain understanding of the world, like script writing and storytelling really, really helps, because I find I'm awful in conversations. If I talk to someone, I just talk. and I don't give them a chance, and I don't know what they're trying to say, and I can't tell all the little ins and outs of conversations and stuff.
Yeah.
But when it comes to script writing, you can write down, you know how this character's feeling, and you know how this character's feeling, and this character, and then they start talking of things, and it gives you a new insight into the world. So say I'd fallen out with someone, and I started using that for a story, so I could start creating their side of a story, which would give me insight into what they were thinking. And it's such an amazing skill and a skill set is script writing, because it teaches you to look at how everybody's viewing the world, and that everybody is a person, and everybody has their own thoughts and feelings and fears and wants and needs. And for someone who struggles to understand the world, it gives me this extra this like added bonus. It's like, I don't know how to properly put that into
well, what I think is, I'm not speaking for you, but for me, because I'm doing script writing at the moment at university, oddly enough, I went and did the same course that I'm doing, the same course that he did. And what it's kind of taught me from a completely writing aspect is rewriting and doing stuff like that. Like when we first started, I'd just pour everything onto a page, and that'd be it. It'd be like, he'd ask for like, oh, Callum, can I have 4 lines? And I'd come back with like 4 pages of things. And it's kind of, it teaches, I think, from a completely creative writing standpoint, it teaches you to reread, re-look through your work, that your work is never truly perfect, and sometimes less is more, I think, is what it taught me. But also what you were saying, I think it allows you to visualize, like almost like horror movies. It puts you in a situation which you can't usually access. But with a script, you can relive, or you can re-access
so it's
a conversation and figure out the ins and outs of it.
So if I have a bad experience in a shop, because I find all my experiences are put into a story or a script or a song somehow. So if I go into a shop and I have an angry meeting with the shopkeeper and he gets annoyed at me, I could go home and write out this meeting, but I would also have to play the role of the shopkeeper. And then I might be like, why was he angry? Because people aren't just angry, things cause people to be angry. And it just allows you to take a step back and take a look at the world from a different viewpoint and a bit further back from yourself. And it gives you a little more understanding of the world and people. And one of the latest things that I'm going to be like putting into a story, because I only found this out recently with my partner, where she's got a job and she's really happy about it. And I'm proud of her for it. But we were talking, she's a psychologist, she's writing a thesis now, she's a proper intelligent lady. And we were walking along and she was like, how do you feel about me getting this job? And I said, I'm proud. And she said, but do you actually feel proud? And I thought for a moment, and I didn't feel anything. I knew I was proud, but there's no feeling within me for it. And then it was like, it clicked. It was like, oh, is that what empathy is? And that's why I can't empathize with people. Because if someone says they're sad, I'm like, oh, you're sad. But there's no feeling in me for it. There's not like a proper heartbreak or anything like that. And so it's just a new piece of information that's come into my life that I will be exploring in a song or a script or somewhere at some point. I just find it really, really interesting. And the same with not understanding people's faces, because for a long time in my life, I would ask Callum and my fiance what they were thinking about. And it was just something that I used to do. And it was only after I got diagnosed that I realised I was asking them because I couldn't tell what their faces were doing. I couldn't see the expressions that they were actually making. And so it's a bit mad being 41 years old and only learning these little things that like people have every day. I like to say normal people, because normal is just another word for average. And it makes me feel like so much better than a normal person. But that goes on to like another thing that we're really good at. It's like language. When you learn to write, you learn how powerful language can be. And one of the things I learned in rehab was one of the counsellors there kept saying, if you keep saying that you're sick of something, it will eventually make you sick. And so I learned to change the language that I use. So if something's really horrific and something's really upset you, try and lessen what it is. So if I'm really angry at something and I start saying, oh, that really annoys me, it like lessens it in your mind. And it's like a really good thing that we do. So
he used to say it all the time when I was like, I first moved there. I was a lot of the time I would go to the extreme of something like, oh, school today was horrible, I hate school. And then you'd be like, yeah, but do you hate school?
Yeah.
And then that'd immediately lessen it.
Yeah.
And I'm still trying to do it. It's not something you can just instantly do. It's one of those, like, takes time and practice.
Yeah.
But as soon as you learn to do it, it can benefit so many other things, really. Because I hear so many people all the time saying, I'm sick of my job, I'm sick of this.
Yeah.
But that's like the extreme of it.
Yeah, it's like negative language affects you if you're using it. So you need to lessen what you're doing. And it's, I don't know, language is so strange because it's just a sound in the air, but it has so much weight and so much effect on people, doesn't it? Yeah.
Can I just ask you about your university experience? And the reason I'm asking is that I've been contacted by quite a few adults who are really struggling at university. Is there any tips or advice that you could give to them, and what support was put in place for you, if any?
Well, here's what happened. I went to university after I was like 31, and I knew I loved writing and I wanted to learn more skills. So I went to study creative writing, I went to study script writing. And I tried to make friends there, but I couldn't. And I don't know what was wrong. I still don't know what I was doing wrong because everyone else was just doing, I don't know. I don't know the actual reason for it. And I went through 3 years of uni and I never really went out because I don't drink. So I never got invited out to drink. And people were uncomfortable when I admitted that I was an alcoholic, which is I don't understand. Because if someone says I'm trying to quit smoking, people are fine with it. So I was just really truthful, and people don't like truth. But the one thing which really went against me at uni was I'm really good at writing, and I don't mean to sound big-headed or anything like that. It's just one of the things that I'm naturally good at, and it made some of my fellow pupils, it made me an enemy to them. So someone eventually spread some lies about me, and I had a breakdown and things, and I had to end up taking a year out of university. And the year out really, really helped. And when I returned, I just got my head down and I ended up getting a first in screenwriting, and I was in the radio and in the newspaper and stuff. But it was as I was finishing university that I got my diagnosis. So it was too late for me to actually.
Right.
So if I'd have gone to uni saying I was autistic, I'm pretty certain it would have been the same. I don't think people would have liked me more or anything like that. I don't know, because it depends. The older pupils like me, but the younger ones just thought I was a bit odd, because I know, like, was it Carol who mentioned earlier, there was, when you're autistic, you tend to get on with people with a lower skill, not a lower age or higher age. And so I'm always friends with people who are younger than me because I'm very silly and I just have lots of energy, and old people don't have lots of energy and aren't silly, really.
Boy.
I'm old. I consider myself old, Anna, so I didn't mean that as an insult to anyone. I just meant...
Only joking.
All right, okay. Normally people who are older just they just kind of like lose their will to live. It's really weird. But people my age who were writers could see my skill and they were friends with me and things. So they were a bit odd too. But when you're 18 and you've got this fixed view of the world and you meet someone who's an alcoholic and who's been addicted to painkillers and stuff and who's honest about it, that person's kind of a threat. So I don't really have any advice to give. It's just, if you're going to uni, I'm sure you're going to uni because you love the subject. And the best thing about university is the fact that there are so many intelligent people there, and you should go and you should absorb knowledge. And the reason I did so well at uni was because I had no friends. If I'd have had friends there wanting to pull me out of lessons and like go off and do cool things, I would not have got a first. I would not be as skilled in screenwriting as I am now. So the fact that I was kind of isolated went in my favour.
Kind of a double-edged sword.
It is. It's like there's goods and there's bads, and that's what your whole life is, and that's one of the things that you need to be aware of. There'll be bads in some places, some terrible things, but you need to be aware of what good things there are as well, because everyone's got good things, everyone's got bad things, and you just need to know those things. And it's best if you have something that makes you happy. And I was studying writing, and writing makes me happy because it allows me to just take my time and put things exactly as I want them to be, and not rush around like everyone in day-to-day life.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice on uni? Because you're having a kind of similar thing. You don't have any friends.
No, I think that's mainly for me. Not through choice. I'm not going to put it like that. I'm not going to be there like, I don't like any of you. Yeah. It's like, I kind of went there and he'd explained to me, like, one of the really good things about the relationship we have is if I didn't have him in my life, or if he was any different as a person, I would probably be able to get away with a lot, and I'm actually quite a lazy person, and that's not saying like, oh, I don't work, I don't do that stuff, but there's that part of my head that always is kind of exhausted and just wants to, like, you know, be comfortable and that be it. And I'm getting rid of it, and I push myself to work and to exercise and to do all these things, but it is a consistent effort for me. But he consistently will tell me that, so when I first went into uni, went into uni in my first year wanting to study journalism, which didn't go well. I'm going to put it like that, because it was kind of one of those things where I'm good at reviewing and ripping things apart, like looking at things and, you know, dissecting things and doing that through words. But journalism isn't that. I'm going to put that out there. Journalism, I have so much respect for journalists after that course, because what I figured out with that course is journalism is like being a writer, but you're juggling like 10 other things at the same time. You're juggling, like, you know, the ethics of being a journalist. You're juggling also wanting to be hired because, you know, you're wanting to make money from it. But then at the flip side of that, you also want the ethics to be completely unbiased. And it just became this thing where I started to notice all of the flaws within what they were teaching me all the time. And it was kind of, I just went into it because it was like, oh yeah, go to uni, just do it. And it wasn't really, I wanted to do the course. It was more, I wanted to go to uni.
Right.
So that led to me not going to the lessons, not doing that sort of stuff, lying to him about going, all that stuff. And that led to me after that, like for a year, not doing really anything other than working with him. And by the end of that year, I was so completely against the idea of, you know, not working or not doing something. I wanted so much to go and pursue something or go and do something. And then I went and I applied for screenwriting at uni. And it was mainly because of that first year that I realized I need to treat this as a job. This can't be, you know, oh, I'm going there, I'm going to meet, you know, friends, I'm going to go out and drink, I'm going to do all this. It was literally, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to go there, I'm going to write. This is my job. And that doesn't mean that I don't get on with people or I don't talk to people and stuff. It just means that a lot of the time when they're all like, oh yeah, let's go out and drink, and they're like, yeah, but we got to be up for 10 tomorrow. And if we go out and drink, I'm not going to get up for 10.
Yeah.
So it's that type of way up in my head of, I need to go and pursue this, because also really ironically, I think I've got a very good head start. Not only because I've been writing for years before that, so I understand that I'm not going to be the greatest script writer going in because it takes time to get better at something, or because I've also talked in front of people, so presentations aren't really that difficult and all this other stuff, mainly because in my head, it's, well, all the tutors who taught him now teach me, which is also really weird, because every time I go into a lesson, it's like, how's your dad? And I'm there like, oh, well, he's good. Yeah. And they all know me by name. They all know that I'm part of fma12gage. Often I'll walk into the lessons and they'll be there like, can we have a round of applause for Callum? After one of the coming to do one of the Autism's Got Talent ones where Katie Price was there and we had the photo.
Oh, yeah.
I walked into the lesson on Monday and then he was there like, he's performed in front of celebrities. There's a photo out there with Katie Price. And I was just sat there like, great.
Cringe.
But it's also lovely at the same point, because it's like, I'm also being recognised for this other thing that I do. And they also understand a lot of the time when I'm like, I can't come into uni, I've got to go do this.
Yeah.
And I think mainly my takeaway from it is, if you go into uni and it's completely different to college and high school, which is what I quickly learned, is that the teachers they won't care. If you don't go to the lesson, they're like, all right, he doesn't want to come to the lesson. They won't phone you up. They won't send you emails. They won't chase up your parents.
The difference in university is it's down to you. No one's pushing you.
Yeah.
And the more you push and the more you want to learn, the more you'll get out of it.
Yeah.
And I think the culture where it's you go to university to have a holiday, learn yourself and drink, I think that's that's wrong. Because university is a place of just knowledge and things, and it's like,
my son's going to start university in October, hopefully, but because he's had a passion for so many years, and Tally knows this, we've been really pushing him to work in his passion, what he loves, paleontology and geology, but he felt that it was going to be spoilt because it was a hobby to him. So he said, if I work with my hobby, it's going to be totally spoilt. But he's been doing jobs that he doesn't like. So I said, why don't you get paid for something that you love to do? So finally, the penny's dropped at age 30 that he's going to start doing it. But he's going to be doing part-time and then working as well. So this is the stress now. Am I going to be able to cope with working and doing this part-time? So we're only on the start of this journey. So fingers crossed.
One of the things I've learned is not to project. I learned this in rehab, because when you project, you can project about a situation. Say you've got a job interview and you spend all your time worrying about it, that it's not going to go well, and then you go and it's great. Or you could spend all your time worrying, like thinking, oh yeah, it's going to go great, and then it goes bad. And that's all wasted energy. So just deal with it when it happens. Just prepare yourself as well as you can. Save all your energy. Spend your energy on good stuff and deal with the situation.
I think you need to give him a pep talk.
Cool.
But I also completely understand that not wanting to kill your hobby. Because when I first moved to Preston in high school, I wanted to do music as a GCSE because it was the only thing I'd ever, had any passion for. But oddly enough, I wasn't allowed to do it because I wrote lyrics. I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
But I'm also really thankful that I didn't, though, in a weird way, because when I learnt about the course afterwards, when I talked to people who were on it, they were like, oh yeah, well, you've got to play an instrument and you've got to cover songs and you can't make your own songs, and it's not. And I was kind of there like, that's not writing music, bro. That's not music.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel that as well, but there are I think it's kind of weird with creativity and writing because there's so many different avenues. When you're going into a very specialized subject, there's only that one avenue. But I think there's ways to learn and adapt around what you love doing. And it may not necessarily be at the core what you love doing. I don't particularly, I enjoy writing stories. I don't particularly enjoy writing scripts, but it's still, there's carryover, like we said in the talk, it teaches you things about writing songs teach you things about writing music and all this other thing. So I think there's ways around, finding a different avenue, but still doing what you love, really.
Yeah.
My little bit of knowledge.
Something popped into my head while Callum was talking, which has nothing to do with what Callum was talking about, which is how my brain normally works. But one of the reasons, because people have so many weird misconceptions about autism. And one of the ones that happens a lot is because I love performing. I love getting up in front of people. And it's how can you deal with so many people? And it's because when you're up in front of so many people, there are no people. There's just this thing called a crowd. It's not a person anymore. There's no little things to watch out for. There's no nuances or anything. There's no hand gestures or eye movements or boredom or anything like that. A crowd's either happy or it's sad. And when you're dealing with a creature like that, that's easy to deal with. I find it really, really easy to deal with. It needs taming. That's why I scream at audiences, just to shut them up. I don't know why. But yeah, so it's I don't know why it popped into my head. It's just, I feel it's just, a crowd is not a person. And that's why performing is so much fun. And I think that might be why many autistic people find it so much fun, because there's no little details to watch out for anymore. It's just this mass, which is a bit of a weird way of looking at it.
Yeah,
but it's true. It's just
a group of people.
In a conversation, I get lost in all the little bits. But as soon as I'm on stage, I'm in control. It's weird. It's a really weird way of doing it thing. So when I went to uni, I could get up in front of people and just talk forever.
I'm the same. I think people get annoyed with me for that too. But yeah, I think also to kind of pull it back to uni, because I think the thing I found really weird, and it's kind of because I've talked with the tutors who taught him and things like that, and They always ask me how you are. I always tell them you're good.
Good.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that it's quite weird because they notice the differences between me and him. And I think that's really odd when I look at it, because I think a lot of people, like, one of the weirdest memories I've had is when we played one of our family members The Unstoppable song, which you saw the music video for, and they asked if he'd written all of it. And I was like, what? You what?
Yeah.
He didn't write all of that.
Yeah, people assume that I forced Callum into this and it's just a one-sided thing. And it's not, it's genuinely two-sided. We both do all of this. Everything that, apart from social media, I do most of that because Callum doesn't.
Hey, I'm on Twitter.
I know, but when it comes to creating stuff, it's equal. It's genuinely equal. This thing that happened is like, it's a 1,000,000 to 1 anomaly sort of thing. So, yeah. And
have you got any future projects?
We've got Anna. It's just non-stop. We are taking a couple of months out because we need to write our second album now. And we've been planning this from last year, and there's always new projects that come up. So we're going to have to say right now, no more, because I'm near the point of burning out. I've pushed myself too hard again, because I go through the phases of like working too hard, dying, and then working too hard and then dying. So yeah, we're going to be working on our second album, which, without wanting to sound big-headed, is something that I think no one's done before. And you won't be, I can't explain it until it's finished, but you'll understand. But yeah, we've got that to work on. We've got more videos. We've just got all sorts. And we really love the message that we're trying to put out, that creativity really helps. Because, like we said in the video before, it doesn't matter what you're creating, you start putting your subconscious thoughts and feelings into it.
Yeah.
And even if it's not directly associated with how you're feeling, you'll be putting parts of yourself into it. It's really weird, and I don't know all the science behind it. I don't think there is any science behind it.
No.
It's just how it works, and I've seen it work like that all the time with anyone who creates. I can not always tell, but you can tell that there's reality there.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Has lockdown affected you in any way?
It hasn't affected me at all. And my life has barely changed.
Yeah.
So when all those people are complaining about lockdown, I'm like, what are you talking about?
This is my life.
Yeah. But the only thing I've found difficult is because we've come to stay with my fiance during lockdown, so all the family's together. I'm struggling having people around all the time. So even if I'm in the basement on my own and no one's near me, I know there's people around, and that's tiring. And I don't know how to explain that. It's weird. Like, I hear all the little sounds, people moving, and it's like my brain doesn't have time to shut off. So next week I'm going to be going back to my flat to have some time alone to recuperate and just rest, because I'm really burnt out at the moment.
Kind of on the flip side of it, I think lockdowns actually helped me in a weird way. Like, before lockdown, I had kind of, it wasn't in the same vein as when I was a teenager, but I had grips on vices and things which were getting to such a point where I was needing them to create, which is completely what you never want to do. You never want to have to do something like to influence your mind to be able to create. And the ability to be in lockdown around, like we said, with family, like I'm the eldest here, and be around everyone, it was more sort of, I couldn't do that anymore. I just couldn't. And because of lockdown, I think I managed to come out of it as a better person, if that makes sense. Like, I've improved my work ethic. I know what I need to do now. I'm consistently working with you without any sort of, because I'd still do it even though we've been doing it for years. I was still like, all right, oh God, not good.
Just make it hard work.
Yeah, pretty much. But now it's just sort of, I go down, we work, and then I do my stuff and that sort of thing. And I think it's also given us both, I think, a newfound appreciation for how we both work as well, because I realize he can just work and just non-stop work. So I always try and come in whenever I'm working with him, because I can't work till like 3-4 o'clock in the morning. I need sleep. But whenever I come in, I'm always kind of 100% like, I know he's been working for ages. I need to take over now and throw my ideas out there. Like, the script for that video was 20 pages long, and it wasn't that we had to cut it down, but it was 20 pages long. And every time I went down to work on it, I knew I would just have to think of tips or ideas or things to talk about. So it was literally just me sat there writing page after page after page for like 3 to 4 hours, and then me leaving while you were editing the video, and it just carried on like that for ages.
Okay.
I think we've kind of got to that point now where we're both accepting how each other work, and we're both trying to, I think, compensate for how the other person has downfalls in how they work. Because, you know, no one's perfect at everything, even though you can try your hardest to be, but there's always going to be little things that you slip up on.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's also kind of why a lot of the time in social situations and things like that, I take the head.
Yeah.
And
Callum's the face of FMA+12gage and the brains. That's how I like to see it.
Yeah.
So if there's people to interact with, I send him out.
Yeah, that's me.
Okay. Has anyone got any questions for the guys? I know I saw a few popping up at the bottom.
Yeah, I noticed Laurie said the same thing about the audience.
Mm.
It is different when you're in front of an audience. It's not a person. It's just weird. I don't know how else to put it.
I always thought, like, kind of going through it is that I'm a lot more comfortable in front of an audience.
Yeah, but it's Lucy. I have hyper empathy and can definitely feel my own feelings very deeply in other people's. I often cry for other people are sad. When my friend's grandson caught meningitis on his first day at school, she was scared to tell me because she knew I would be so upset. And that also really upset me. And it's really weird because I've only just discovered this empathy thing. Couldn't talk then. This empathy thing. I've only just discovered that the feeling of numbness, because it's always been there. I didn't realise it was the feeling of numbness and not caring. And it's really, really weird because when it comes to animals, I've got like hyper empathy. And I can't stand cruelty to any animals. When we're out walking, I save all the snails and slugs and things because I can't dare hurting them, or insects. But when it comes to people, that level isn't there. I don't ever want to hurt anyone or bring harm to anyone, but I cannot, for some reason, I cannot empathise on the basic level. Because I was thinking about this yesterday, and I think it's like a circle. And I think all the little feelings go in it, and it's only when they get extreme that I start feeling them outside of this circle. And so it's something that I'm thinking about now, and I'm sure it's going to come out in a piece of art or story or something at some point. Yeah, I don't know. I can't imagine being hyper empathetic to people, because with animals, it's just horrible.
Yeah. And also animals don't talk.
No, animals don't. But I think this is common in autism, isn't it? Animals are they're easy because they don't like you or they do like you. There's no silly, be trying to get something from you. It's like if a dog wants a treat, you know it wants a treat. It's not going to try and like, I love you, just to steal the treats and then never see you again. Yeah, that never happens.
Yeah, my son always says he trusts animals, but he doesn't trust people.
Yeah, I agree. But I like to try and see the best in people, and that isn't a downfall, but it can. Some people are just mean. Yeah. But due to all our work, Anna, especially with the anti-bullying song, there's a school called Broadfield Specialist School, and they asked us to go in and give a talk last year. Yeah. And it was absolutely amazing. And they're going to be showing their video to their friends that we made for this talk. Not to their friends, brilliant schools. But it was standing in. I said standing in front of a crowd is fine, but standing in front of a crowd of children, that's a very, very different story. The assembly was horrible. It was like, it was just like, oh my God, what are they going to say about me? I was scared of teenagers more than I am of adults. It was weird.
Was it teenagers?
But when we started playing the song, they all got up and started dancing. It was amazing. And it was absolutely amazing because they didn't. Cool. They were all like special needs and on the spectrum and stuff. They don't have the same feelings as other children where they're like too worried about enjoying stuff. And it was just absolutely beautiful to see everybody just rise up and just have fun. And it was so cool, but it was nerve-wracking.
It was.
Yeah. When I've been to speak at schools, they're usually very, very good, and they're really interested and they want to know more. Or I had a couple of experiences where kids have never ever said that their brother might be autistic or whatever, and then they've stood up and said it, and they haven't even shared it with anyone. So those are, for me, are just like the special moments, if you like. So it's just like, it's okay to say it. I don't have to hide it anymore.
We try and be examples, because part of rap, it's just so full of nonsense and looking cool and not about anything like helping people. And so we try and make it a point to be examples for people. Like talk about your feelings, talk about like what's actually going on, and be brave and share when you're scared and stuff.
Yeah.
Because
Be vulnerable.
be vulnerable, because it helps people, doesn't it? Because people learn by example, the same way that they learn from all these people worshipping money and women and drugs and stuff.
Yeah.
You can do the same if you just be honest.
Yeah.
It's not quite as cool or glamorous, but it's good.
Yeah, Laurie's just said about how lovely it is to see the bond with both of you, and I've said this before. You have got a real, and I know you do argue now and again.
Now and again, all the time.
Yeah. But you have got a great bond, and it's just lovely to see. And it's just lovely as well just to see you sitting on the sofa chatting, because usually when I see you, you're either performing on stage or you're pacing up and down or whatever it is that you're doing, or, you know, we're having a bit of a snack together. But it's just like, it's nice just to see you sitting on the sofa, father and son. Lovely.
Thank you very much. It's hard work just sitting down. I'm wanting to do all my stimming. My stimming as well, that's another thing that I didn't realise I wanted to do until I was diagnosed. I was like, I tried to sit still and things, and it was only after my diagnosis that I started inventing all these cool ways of getting out energy, like a one-handed clap. That's my new one.
Oh, is it? Cool.
Hard to do, no one can do it apart from me.